Hey everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about marketing and making sure the customer knows what your product is. Alright, welcome back. First, this video, make sure to like and subscribe. The more like subscribes you get, the more content we can make. Number one reason why you subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel is to get into the money-making trends before they go mainstream. So I know this is a programming channel, and I know that there's a lot of people that want to make money with certain things like stocks and cryptos and whatnot. But here's the thing, if you want to make a software as a service or an app or a game, you really have to make sure that you market everything correctly. Now here's the thing about marketing everything correctly. If you lie too much, you're gonna get bad reviews. Now, every marketer does kind of exaggerate the truth to some extent, but you need to make your product, whatever it is, to be flashy, and you need to basically show off what it does. And oftentimes the marketing can be a little bit misleading, but there is basically a very simple thing that you need to follow. You need to explain what your product does in a way that communicates things effectively to the customer and in the best possible light. Now, if there's any kind of marketing that you want to do, it's probably this. Now, the hardest thing about marketing your software is that you might not know the best selling points, or you might not effectively communicate the scope or what it does. Now, if you do this and fail a couple times, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I know that if you're a programmer or whatever, you think that basically making something and putting it out there is gonna work. Well, you do have to have very good marketing. If you want to make an app for the App Store or a game for Steam, you have to have amazing screenshots, an amazing trailer, and you have to tell what it does. If you make a game and the game description is way too rosy and doesn't tell you exactly what the game does, you're going to get a lot of bad reviews, and that's not good for your game. Even if your game is half decent, if you over-explain it, or if you say something that isn't true, well then guess what? You're gonna get a lot of bad reviews. A very good example of this is the scope. So if you wanna think that your game is similar to another type of game, and that other game is way longer, let's say the game that you're referencing takes about 40 hours to complete, where yours takes maybe 5 or 6. If you say that it's like that other game without saying the hour content, well then guess what? You're gonna get a lot of bad reviews. And this is something that you have to learn the hard way if you don't already know. So what I mean by that is that let's say you wanna make a puzzle platformer game, and that puzzle platformer game is like another puzzle platformer game. In fact, you like this other puzzle platformer game so much that you made a game that was, well, somewhat similar, but a little bit different. Different enough to make its own game. But your game is not as big in scope in terms of game mechanics or whatever, and it takes a lot less time to complete. So if you say it's like that other game, people are going to say, well, this isn't like the other game because it's not as long and the features are, well, not as big. Now, of course, this is compounded if your game isn't very good. One thing that you have to do above anything else is just basically create a good game experience. And I've seen some reviews where it says the description's terrible, but the game is good. But you do not want to do that. That's literally shooting yourself in the foot. So if we're going to this puzzle platformer example, you need to make sure that you say that the hour count takes maybe 5 or 6 hours to complete, or if you find some glitch in the game that might take 1 or 2 hours in a speed run. But generally, through the play testers, they took about 5 to 6 hours to complete. That is the kind of thing that you want to say, because if the other game is 40 hours, people are going to think, well, this game that you just referenced is 40 hours, so obviously the game that you're selling me is going to be about 40 hours to play. You have to say how long it takes to finish, especially if you're making a game, a single player game that has a limited scope. The other thing is that if the game mechanics are simpler, you have to say that. Now, of course, you don't say, well, the game mechanics are very simple. I mean, you could say that. But what would be better is you could say something like enhanced minimalist game mechanics. We don't put in anything that you don't want. So you have to find a good way to sell your features of your game or app. Now, I often see this in the software as a service realm as well. Remember, if you're making a software as a service, you have to basically say exactly what you're going to do and bring it in the best possible light. Now, of course, you can use some very colorful language, and you can use that kind of colorful language to basically make the sale. So at the end of the day, if your software as a service can't do something, well, then you can't sell it as that. So if your marketing copy says that you can do this one thing and it can't do that one thing, well, then you shouldn't put it on there. If you can do something similar to that thing, then you can maybe use some vague language around that as a selling point. Now, the flip side of this is that a lot of developers are very smart and very humble. Now, unfortunately, being humble does not sell well, and this is something that I had to learn very hard. So if you make a good app and you say, yeah, it does all these things, and yeah, I guess it's kind of good, you don't want to do that. You need to really turn on the used car salesman when you do your marketing copy, because chances are there's a ton of marketing dollars that are being spent in your competition, and you don't frankly have that. So you have to use everything at your disposal. Now, if you're at the end of your project and you really don't want to do anything more, then you could in theory hire someone to do the marketing copy. However, I would just say take a day off from development and then really start to sell your app or service and really hone it in. Now, if you are going to hire someone, do not spend a lot of money. In fact, write everything down and then hire a copywriter to make it look a little bit better. That's the way I would go, and I wouldn't spend more than a few $100s if you're doing this by yourself. And I know you might be thinking, well, a few $100s seems like a lot for just the sales copy, but it really does matter. Now, personally, I'd maybe spend about $100 to $200 to revise my sales copy, and if you don't think that that's worth it, then you'll just have to write your own sales copy and fail. Or if you're really good at it, then you'll succeed. But you will have to get someone to look it over. And again, you don't even have to hire somebody. If you know someone who'll do it for free, that's even better, like a friend or a colleague or something like that. Now, when you ask colleagues, there's a lot of people that will try and tear you down because they're jealous that you made this software as a service, but that's a story for another time. So in conclusion, writing your sales copy, marketing is really important, especially if you're a lone wolf developer. And I know more than anybody else how hard it is to do at the end of a project, but you have to plow through that and it will make a huge difference. Now again, if you make something that is too humble or frankly just an outright lie, these are polar opposites of the same problem, and that's nothing you want to do. You want to tell exactly what your software as a service does, but make sure that your language brings everything your software as a service or game does in the best possible light. And then you'll be able to get the money to make a better product either next time or continue to make your software as a service better. All right, so that concludes this video. I want to know your thoughts down below. How much does marketing matter? Have you tried this? Let me know. Remember that this channel doesn't do Patreon. Instead, we sell our digital products down below. The more you get for the content that you buy below, the more content we can make. If you really like this channel, you can subscribe to Manthey Interactive's huge library of content. We release 20 to 60 hours of fresh new content per month, every single month. It really does help us out when you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.